Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Bob Simone, and I'd like to welcome you to our third Saturday monthly NAUA service. We've got some interesting music and readings for you today, as well as a sermon by the NAUA founder, Reverend Dr. Todd Eklof, entitled Finding Our Way, Where Our Liberal Religion Must Go From Here. So please stay tuned after the service as we'll have some announcements, and then we're going to have some breakout rooms so you can discuss the sermon topic and anything else of mind. I just want to remind you to stay muted unless you're going to be speaking. I had to mute everybody, so if you guys are scheduled to speak, make sure to unmute yourself before you talk. Now I'd like to turn it over to Catherine Lamar, who will be reading our opening words.
Okay, this opening words is by Jack Mendelson. Here in this sanctuary of ancient dreams and wisdom and beauty, we come together to grow, to be healed, to stretch mind and heart, to be challenged, renewed, to be helped in our own continuing struggles for meaning and for love, to help build a world with more justice and mercy in it, to be counted among the hopers and doers. In the face of cynicism, darkness, brutality around us and within, we seek to align ourselves with a living community that would affirm rather than despair, that would think and act rather than simply adjust and succumb. Here we invite the spirit of our own humanity and the healing powers under, around, through, and beyond it, to give us the nerve and grace, the toughness and sensitivity, to search out the truth that frees and the life that maketh all things new. Now moving on to the chalice lighting, can you spotlight both Bob and me? And Bob Meyerson is going to light the actual chalice while I read the following. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of Freedom. And that is from the Passover Maggada.
All right, I'm going to do our next reading. Now, in honor of Martin Luther King's birthday, which was celebrated this past Monday, I wanted to read an excerpt from his famous letter from a Birmingham jail. This letter was written in response to an announcement made by 8 local ministers saying that Dr. King was an outsider and urging locals not to participate. He was arrested and denied paper to write on in jail, so he wrote on the edges of newspaper, on toilet paper, on sandwich bags. His attorney snuck them out of jail, and then they were reassembled like a giant jigsaw puzzle and then published. It's been said that none of his speeches or writings would give you a clearer vision of his mission. So I reread it all recently. It's 5 to 6 pages long. It's quite a long letter. It's well worth a reread. So here's an excerpt from it. You deplore the demonstrations that are presently taking place in Birmingham, but I am sorry that your statement did not express a similar concern for the conditions that brought the demonstrations into being. I am sure that each of you would want to go beyond the superficial social analyst who looks merely at effects and does not grapple with the underlying causes. I would not hesitate to say that it is unfortunate that so-called demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham at this time, but I also say in more emphatic terms that it is even more unfortunate that the white power structure of this city left the Negro community with no other alternative. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all. Never again can we afford to live with a narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. but we know we will. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we're there, we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we're there, we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We'll know we're there. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 We'll know we're there.
Hey, I believe it is time for what we call in Spokane, at the Spokane congregation, at least, a story for all ages. So I'm a pretty bad storyteller, so I always bring some of my puppet friends to help, including today. So this is a song about a songbird, as you can see. This is the most colorful and beautiful songbird in the entire forest. It's known for its melodious singing. And it sings so beautifully and so loudly that one day, while it was going through the woods singing, it attracted a bear. It attracted a rather large dog. You're not ready yet, Wiley, for this. So let's get back in center here. Okay, so the bear came. It was a very hungry bear who was actually not there to hear the singing, but for a snack. And the bear said, "How well you sing." "Thank you," the bird said. "Will you teach me how?" "Of course," said the songbird, not letting itself be fooled. "Just do as I say. Put your paw into that tree hole." So the bear saw the tree hole and it went over it, stuck its paw in, as the bird said, and the bird very quickly stuck a stone in the hole, lodging the bear's arm and sticking it to the side of the tree. So the songbird then continued on its journey, singing its beautiful melodies. And very soon, it attracted the sound of another creature who was also very hungry. Bear with me. There we go. And the lion said, the hungry lion said, "You sing beautifully. Thank you. Will you teach me how?" "Of course," said the songbird, again not letting itself be fooled. "Just do as I say and put your arm into that tree hole." "Why, of course." So the lion did as instructed, and the bird very quickly went over and put another stone in the hole, lodging the lion's arm in the tree, so it could not escape. So once more, the bird continued on its journey, singing its beautiful melodies, when it attracted the attention of another hungry predator, in this case, another bird, a very large, hungry eagle. And the eagle said, my, what a beautiful voice you have." "Why, thank you," said the songbird. "Would you teach me how to sing?" "Why, of course. Just stick your wing in that tree hole over there." "Okay," and the eagle went and did as said, and the bird rushed over, picked up a stone, lodged it in the tree, and the eagle was stuck, leaving the bird to once again go on its journey, singing its melodious harmonies for all to hear throughout the forest. Now, by the time the eagle and the lion and the bear escaped, they were very angry, and they went looking for the bird, as you might imagine, to get revenge. But it's a very smart bird. This time it got a pet dog. Actually, hey, Wiley, come here. Wiley, he can come now. He's part of the story. Hey, Wiley, you want to come? I have a big puppet, but you'll suffice. Come up here. There we go. So she went and got a big dog as a pet. And once the other animals saw that large dog, they decided that they were not going to mess with that bird anymore. And the songbird was free to go through the woods with its new best friend, singing its beautiful harmonies anytime it wants. The end. Thank you, Wiley. Right on time.
Good morning. My name is Bob Myerson, and I have a few words to say today as a contribution to today's service. I titled it, "Can a Few UUs Turn the Ship Around? And Is It Worth Trying?" I am anxiously looking forward to Reverend Todd's sermon today. Once I learned the subject, it prompted me to think about whether or not this old man, being me, should be a cog in this wheel of necessary reform to the UU faith, or should I be planning my own personal reform program? It would be a lot easier to work on just me. After all, I just turned 90, and so I don't have that much to say, and I don't have a lot of time to say it. But anyone who knows me surely will agree that there's plenty to reform and correct. I certainly hope that UUism will be here a long time after me. So I believe I must work on both the individual as well as the more profound potentials of UUism on humanity more than myself. I want to be a part of UU's getting this faith of ours back to its positive influence. In our world, this isn't easy. Whenever someone objects to the status quo, he or she must be understanding of the probable reactions from those comfortable with the prevailing dogma. I believe everyone here today has made a choice to not only comfort the afflicted, but to afflict the comfortable. I once gave a talk titled, "The Faith That Can Save the World," referring to UUism. I still believe that that is true, that it can happen, and that the UU can be a large influence for good in this world. But it must change its course. My thoughts go back to an old saying, which I think many of our faith have forgotten, and it's for those who are always happy with the status quo. I was told that I should cheer up. Things could be worse. So I cheered up, and sure enough, things got worse. Better to act up, not to cheer up. Again, I'm looking forward to today's sermon. It's coming from a source which has already afflicted the comfortable and has paid a price for his efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, for that wonderful greeting and wonderful words. And I want to thank you and the rest of the worship team in particular for all of the extraordinary work you've been doing to put on such wonderful monthly worship services for NAUA. So thanks to you, and thanks to everyone for joining us this morning. It's been such an honor getting to know many of you, and I hope to get to know many more of you over the years to come. Incidentally, I did actually come prepared with another giant dog puppet if necessary, but I'm glad that Wiley made his cameo and we could have the real thing. So yeah, I wanted to begin by telling a little anecdote from my childhood. My maternal grandparents had an old cuckoo clock on their wall, and at the approach of the hour, us kids would eagerly wait for the manufactured bird inside to pop out and announce the time with its corresponding number of cuckoos. Cuckoo, 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 3 o'clock. And in addition to its distinctive cry, the cuckoo bird is also notorious, as I'm sure you know, for laying its eggs in the nest of smaller birds that unwillingly raise the cuckoo's hatchlings as their own, even as the larger cuckoos push their real chicks out of the nest into their doom. This is comparable to what's happening in the Unitarian Universalist Association. I don't believe that its current conflicts are merely the result of disagreements among fellow Unitarians. Rather, it is a case of institutional capture in which some posing as Unitarians joined the UUA and began stealthily replacing its values and principles with their own cultish anti-racism ideology, pushing out anyone who gets in their way. In other words, I think the UUA has gone cuckoo. And it may turn around someday. I hope it does, but I no longer believe that Unitarians can justify remaining part of an association that has come to represent the opposite of our liberal values and principles. And I want to spend some time this morning talking about what's next for those of us who have already left the UUA, but I also recognize the need to talk about why I believe it's time for all genuine UUs to leave the cuckoo's nest. In recent years, top leaders at the UUA have repeated negative and false claims against our religion that were first outlined by Reverend Frederick Muir in an influential 2012 lecture to UU ministers. In it, he referred to the 3 organizing and corrupting narratives that he calls our religion's trinity of errors, summarized as individualism, exceptionalism, and our allergy to authority. Since, according to Muir, the latter 2 errors, he says the cure for all 3 is for ours to become a covenantal religion, which will lead, he says, to something that has eluded Unitarian Universalism, a doctrine of church. This is so, he says, because we cannot do both covenant and individualism. The so-called covenantal religion UUA leaders now claim that we are and always have been, rejects individual expression and freedom. 4 years later, during the 2016 UUA General Assembly, moderator Jim Keyes held up one of Muir's books, advised everyone there to read it and to learn more about our trinity of errors, then announced a new task force on recovenanting, stating explicitly the task force was charged with changing the culture of the UUA from one of a member service administration to one of mutual covenanting. Just prior to the 2019 General Assembly, the now former UUA president, Susan Frederick Gray, also expressed agreement with Muir in her UU World Magazine article entitled The Power of We, citing his trinity of errors and repeating his claim that covenant is the antidote to individualism. Just prior to this, in 2018, a UU study action issue was approved stating decentering whiteness calls us to decenter individual dignity for our collective liberation. I understand this to mean that individual dignity is out and groupthink is in. Just as Muir, Keyes, and Frederick Gray said is the UUA's new goal, although they use the word covenant instead of groupthink. So if you say something they disagree with or disagree with them, many in the UUA, especially its ministers and leaders, simply accuse you of being out of covenant, then shove you out of the cuckoo's nest with no further explanation necessary. And now there is an effort to eliminate the 7 principles adopted in 1985, most of which have been part of the UUA in some form since the merger in 1961, including its first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, along with the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And with this disregard for individuality and dignity is its abandonment of democracy and giving every individual a voice. Like lawmakers who've gerrymandered districts to get the kind of votes they need to win, some of the UUA leadership today like to claim the voting delegates at their assemblies are affirming the direction they have set. But democracy is about far more than just voting. It's about a fair process to elections, and more importantly, it's about being free, I should say, to publicly express our variety of opinions, including dissenting opinions, beginning long before and right up to any vote is taken. And this is no longer happening at the UUA. Those with dissenting opinions are often demonized and silenced for being out of covenant. Even the once lengthy letters section to the editor of the UU World Magazine has been removed, completely removed, eliminating even the slightest platform for dissenting voices. Some of you may have read the recent Financial Times article about what's happening in the UUA, in which journalist Jemima Kelly points out that between 1961 and 1961 and 2020, only 9 ministers had been permanently disfellowshipped by the UUA. Let me say that again. Between 1961 and 2020, only 9 ministers had been permanently disfellowshipped by the UUA. Most for sexual misconduct or financial malfeasance. But during the 3 years since giving away my book, The Gadfly Papers, in 2019, 5 ministers have been booted out, including me, for what the UUA calls non-cooperation and bullying. During this same period, there have been 3 other ministers who resigned pending misconduct reviews that were accused of bullying and abusive behavior in the workplace. Bullying means they said something somebody disagreed with. And I know this because I had the distinction of being the very first minister ever disfellowshipped by the UUA for being a bully. No further explanation necessary. And now, that's the most common reason for being booted out of ministry in the UUA. And just a year ago, in 2023, new rules were adopted regarding those accepted into preliminary fellowship, stating the UUA's Ministerial Fellowship Committee defines a minister as someone who has been, and I quote, granted fellowship by the MFC. And this is counter to the UUA bylaws that, for now at least, still say it is the sole authority of our autonomous congregations to ordain and call their ministers. That is, it is the local church that makes a minister, not the MFC. But now the MFC believes that it determines who will become and who will remain a UU minister. Additionally, those granted preliminary fellowship must now be committed to a particular brand of anti-racism that many consider flawed and counterproductive, and to what the MFC calls in its new guidelines, elective liberation. The same term used in that study action issue I mentioned earlier, a euphemism meaning groupthink. Finally, there was the recent appointment of the new UUA president. Let me say that again. There was the recent appointment of the new UUA president in a farce of an election that violated the UUA bylaws by failing to offer more choices and illegally obstructed at least one other candidate from running, me. Those with genuine Unitarian values know deep in their bones that democracy means a whole lot more than a minute fraction of an organization's members voting in an orchestrated election in which there are no real choices, the outcome of which has been locked in before a single vote was ever taken. All of this is to make the point that it no longer makes sense for religious liberals to remain part of the Unitarian Universalist Association, an organization that now represents the opposite of liberalism's core values: freedom, reason, tolerance. The values that once held our congregations together in the bonds of genuine friendship, the expression and promotion of which gave meaning and purpose to our lives. How can those who value these things remain part of an association that rejects them? An association that discards the inherent worth and dignity of every person, including their freedom to think and speak for themselves. How can we be part of an association that is so utterly intolerant of and punitive towards those they disagree with? How can we stay in an association that has betrayed our democratic values and processes? How can we flourish in an association that is pushing us out of what has deviously been transformed into a cuckoo's nest? But as difficult as this is to hear and to recount and to acknowledge about an organization many of us have loved, once felt at home in, nurtured and been nurtured by, in which we devoted our lives to, what's happened is a wake-up call for us religious liberals who let it happen on our watch while we were sleeping on the job. When titling my book, The Gadfly Papers, I borrowed that term from Socrates, who used it to describe himself as a gadfly that was biting the butt of a great and noble steed who is slow in his motions owing to his very size and requires to be stirred to life. In the same way, I didn't write the Gadfly Papers hoping to persuade the UUA leadership of their folly, but to awaken my fellow Unitarians to what was happening, to stir all of us to life. And what I mean by sleeping on the job is that we have slowly, over the past several decades, largely forgotten why we are here. We've forgotten our liberal religious purpose. We have forgotten the point of our religion. From its very start, Unitarianism, because of its humanistic Christology, its belief in a human Jesus and his humanitarian teachings, has been about using our religion to benefit the welfare of humanity and individual well-being. Likewise, Universalism's initial disbelief in the salvation of an elect few and the condemnation of everyone else to eternal hell later morphed into the more positive emphasis on an all-loving and all-inclusive God, and later still into the belief that all souls must be included into our fellowship. So when, after more than a century flirting with the idea, these two ancient and deeply rooted religions finally decided to merge in 1961, it was for the purpose, as historian Helena Rosenblatt says in her 2018 book, The Lost History of Liberalism, it was for the purpose of creating a religion of humanity. This doesn't mean a religion that worships humanity, but that exists to serve and better humanity. We accomplish this by adhering to our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, first articulated during the Enlightenment, although it is a principle that goes back really to the Renaissance and was the impetus of our historic Edict of Torda, established by the Unitarian king of Hungary, stating that no one shall be reviled for his religion by anyone, and it is not permitted that anyone should threaten anyone else by imprisonment or by removal from his post for his teaching. You see, human welfare depends upon tolerance, upon our ability to live peacefully and respectfully among those with whom we differ. And such tolerance requires freedom, equal rights, and democracy. This humanistic ethic, achieved by establishing greater commitment and systems guaranteeing freedom and reason and tolerance in our societies and our communities, has always been the defining principle of liberalism and of our liberal religion. It is our raison d'etre. It justifies our existence and gives meaning and purpose to our religion. It is also the reason NAUA now exists, not because we need it, but because the world needs us. That's why NAU exists, not because we need it, but because the world needs us. For our liberal values are the only values in history that have ever unleashed human potential, improved the plight of humanity, and enabled human civilization to move forward. The three periods in which these values became widespread among the early Greek philosophers 2,600 years ago led to the discovery of elemental, atomic, evolutionary, and heliocentric theories about the nature of the universe, and to the discovery of musical octaves, irrational numbers, meteorology, scientific experimentation, certain medical breakthroughs, including surgery. During the Renaissance, in its renewed interest in this pro-human thinking of these early philosophers, luminaries began calling for tolerance and different voices and insisting that instead of everyone holding one accepted idea, that we gain wisdom from the teachings of the world over, from humanity the world over. And that's when the Edict of Torda, the first religious freedom law, was passed. We don't have to be afraid of other ideas. We can live together with other ideas. The tender ideas birthed during the Renaissance matured and flourished during the Enlightenment, leading to radical social reforms, including democracy, the rule of law, the abolition of slavery, women's equality and suffrage, gay rights, prison reform, an end to warfare, child labor laws, animal welfare laws, and public education. Those were the ideas that emerged out of the Enlightenment, the flourishing of the Renaissance call for tolerance, founded upon a positive belief in human agency and possibility during the age of the pre-Socratic philosophers. The Enlightenment's emphasis on freeing the human mind and spirit also led immediately to what remains the most inventive and remarkable period in human history during the 1800s. The radio, the steam turbine, the four-stroke combustion engine, electric motors, the phonograph, telegraph, telephone, alternating current, X-ray, microwaves, light bulbs, ultraviolet light, and infrared radiation are only a sampling of all that was discovered then. Today, almost all of our continued advances, even our most sophisticated computer technologies, are rooted in the discoveries of the 19th century. Our religion, founded in Eastern Europe during the Renaissance and rediscovered in the US during the Enlightenment, expresses religious devotion to the liberal principles that made all this social, scientific, and technological progress possible. We cannot move forward under authoritarian rule, nor innovate in cultures of conformity and groupthink, nor make any progress when we are fighting over our differences rather than tolerating them. Yet this is precisely the situation the whole world is in today. The violent death and destruction in Eastern Europe and the Middle East right now are only the worst symptoms of our illiberal and intolerant world. In the US, as is so in many Western traditions, our governments are too divided upon party lines to move humanity forward. We're stuck. Intolerance is also indicative of our societies in general. Rather than accepting the world as a big place with lots of differences, too many of us are reverting to tribalism and retreating into identity groups, fearing and hating and attacking those outside, rather than recognizing our common humanity and that no matter how different we are part of one human family. I hear people say, yes, that's right. We need to listen to each other and try to understand each other, but I disagree. We don't have to understand each other to tolerate each other. Shouldn't it be enough to know that we are all human beings and therefore deserve respect and dignity and enjoy the same rights as ourselves? There are more than 8 billion people in the world, and it is not possible for any one of us to know but a tiny, minute fraction of them, let alone to understand those who speak different languages and have different cultures. It would keep us all very busy if we had to understand each other to live peacefully together. On the contrary, liberalism says all we need to know about each other is that we are all human beings and therefore are born with inherent dignity and inalienable rights. Inalienable. I am so proud and grateful for how far NAUA has come in such a short time, especially in our success at reestablishing the tolerant and supportive community we have been accustomed to as religious liberals. From worshiping together as we are today to our NAUA Academy classes, our minister support groups, our happy hours, keeping in touch with each other via our website and our Liberal Beacon online magazine, to our budding International Unitarian Association, to all of our NAUA volunteers and teams working to make this happen while having the joy of building friendships in the process. It's hard for me to believe NAUA currently remains an all-volunteer organization. It's amazing how far we've come together. So thank you to all of our volunteers and to the many of you who have given and continue to give financial support to make all of this possible. NAUA is here to serve and support you and to give you a welcoming and tolerant community to be part of. But more importantly, NAUA is here because the world needs us more than ever to be here, to be fully present for them. We exist to serve and support the work of liberal religion, and that work is to make the world a more tolerant place by reminding our fellow human beings the world over of our highest aspirations and shared longings for world peace, prosperity, and happiness. These days, sadly, tragically, almost everyone hates liberalism. It has been so disparaged that few understand why it's so vitally important and to the improvement and well-being of the whole world. And this began with conservatives using the media to successfully turn the word into a slur beginning in the 1980s. But more recently, even those leading our liberal institutions, the UUA, the DNC, the ACLU, the Sierra Club, academia, and so on, have become illiberal and intolerant. So much so that they're destroying themselves from within their own institutions. And because of this trend, we came frighteningly close to losing liberal religion forever. We came so close to disappearing, but we didn't. Shoved out of the cuckoo's nest, our liberal religion has found a new home in NAUA. It's now time to leave the UUA family fully and to move forward with our greater purpose, reminding the world of our highest aspirations and human potential. The greatest problem in the world today is intolerance, our inability to live peacefully and fairly among those with whom we disagree. If we can't come together long enough to work together on our greatest challenges, including the existential threat of climate change, things will only worsen. As Bob said earlier, our message as religious liberals is that we need not think alike to love alike, to progress alike, and to prosper together. We do not need, I should say, we do need to tolerate alike, though. We don't need to like each other or understand each other, but we need to love each other by respecting our inherent worth and dignity as fellow human beings. That's our way forward, and that is the liberal way. It is our way. It is the Unitarian way. Thank you.
We are crossing the water our whole life through. We are making a passage that is straight and true. Every heart is
Okay, moving on to the closing words. These are from the Church of the Living Fellowship Handbook of Religious Services, and I could not find the original source. Should the voyage of life bear us on separate courses, forget not that the same stars shine over us, that we are warmed by the same sun, that we belong to the same human family, that the same ideals stir within our hearts while we are absent from one another. And then moving on to the extinguishment of the chalice. Bob, could you do that? Bob Meyerson, while I am reading this benediction. Hold on to what is good, even if it is a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it is a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it is a long way from here. Hold on to life, even when it is easier letting go. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone away from you. Peace, salam, shalom, so be it.
We realize that there are a lot of charitable organizations out there that deserve your support, and we hope that the NAUA is one of them. If you'd like to donate, you can go to the donation page on our website at naunitarians.org/donate. You can see it here, or hold your smartphone in camera mode up to the screen and focus on the QR code, and then it'll take you to that page. Or, of course, you can always mail a check to the address on the screen. So we'll leave that up there for a minute or two while I read the announcements. This coming Tuesday, we have our monthly NAUA Academy seminar. This month is going to be titled Plus ça change. David Reich revisits his 2010 satire, The Anti-Racism Trainings. David was the editor of UU World from 1992 to 2001, and he will read passages from his book and share his experience at UUA during the early days of anti-racism training programs. In the QA discussion that afterwards, we'll all have the opportunity to reflect on the intervening years and his title suggestion that the more things change, the more they remain the same. So that's going to be this Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And you should have gotten an email announcement with the link to use, or you could just go to the naunitarians.org website and find that information. Also, I wanted to mention that we're going to start up a conversational circles program in February. It's kind of like the small group ministry you might have had in some of your churches. If you like a way to become acquainted with other members, this is a great way to do so. Go to the NAUA website. There's a circles option under programs that will tell you all about it and how to sign up. So there are a few openings remaining for both sessions that we're having next month.
We are living with the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone, I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility, I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living with a great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. On this journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart, I am gathering together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who have come before me band together and be my guide. Loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side.